Ta-da! Do you like the shirt? Ah. The shirt came from Grafica Manila. It was actually a fun conference this time. Anyway, enough about Grafica. A few weeks ago, I posted something on my Instagram stories asking if you have any questions about coffee that maybe I can try and answer them. Actually, not a lot sent me questions. I have here, I only have five questions. Only five people sent me questions. But anyway, I said I'm gonna do an episode about it, so here it is. The first question is from Adel Magbuo. Okay, he said, nakaka-acid reflux ba ang drip coffee? In translation, he wants to know if drip coffee can cause acid reflux. The simplest answer is yes. Coffee is acidic in general, but there are ways and techniques that you can actually avoid acidic part of coffee. If you're gonna geek out about it, you can actually put bicarbonate minerals in your water so that when you brew your coffee, it takes away the acidic aspect of the coffee. Another way is if you brew it longer, it becomes less acidic. So, easiest way to do this is make yourself a cold brew. It's very easy to do. I actually made a couple of videos about making your own cold brew at home. So you can do that so that you can avoid acid reflux. I also have a friend that has GERD. The only coffee that he drinks is the only coffee that he makes. Me too. I used to have an acute gastritis and I get triggered easily, especially with acidic food like vinegar, chili, yeah, things like that, pepper, yun. I get triggered easily, but whenever I make my own coffee, yeah, it doesn't affect me. Okay, moving on to the next question. This is from Ana Cruz Bueno. It's my wife. She is asking, I want to know the clicks. How do you determine that? Okay, kasi most of the time she hears me filming my episodes, and what stuck to her was I would always go, we are doing 10 grams of coffee at 21 clicks on your comandante. Okay, so she always asks me, you're always talking about this clicks and that clicks. Actually, the clicks pertains to the settings on your grinder. So every grinder brand differs in clicks. So, for example, the Easy Prezzo Q2 has 30, the Fellow Opus has 11, and the Comandante, which I use every day, the Comandante has 40 clicks. So, to answer your question, how do you determine the clicks? So, there is a general, maybe a general guideline for every grinder brand. So mostly they post it on their website and the manufacturer set this. So for example, the Comandante, let's use the Comandante as an example. So I have a grind chart here. There is a bracketing. Okay, so for extra fine grind size, that is 1 up to 10. You use extra fine for espresso. Okay, and then you have fine, medium. So these bracket sizes depends on the way that you brew. So let's say for example you're going to you're going to make a cold brew. So cold brew, if you look it up on the internet, it usually says that you need an extra coarse grind for that. After you get the desired setting, for you to be able to translate that to your comandante, you need to look at the grind chart. So the grind chart gives you the recommended number of clicks for that specific grind bracketing. So for extra course on the comandante, that is 35 clicks up to 40 clicks. Why is it a bracket? It will depend on your preference. So as like for me, whenever I do my cold brew, I always go for the biggest size, so extra coarse. So that is 40 clicks on the comandante. Now, if you are doing a pour over, and then it will depend on the recipe. So if you look at the recipe would sometimes say medium grind size, or the recipe would sometimes say medium fine grind size. Again, you're gonna look at your grind chart, and then so for the medium, that is from 19 clicks up to 23 clicks on the comandante. So if you do medium grind size, you have the option of using 19 clicks up to 23 clicks. This will depend on your preference. For example, if you're using a dark roast coffee, you should go for the coarser side of things. If you're brewing a light roast coffee, then you should go for the finer side of things. I guess that answers the question. How do you determine the clicks? Moving on to the next question. This is from Myrish Manalo Ramos. Do you know how to make white chocolate mocha that tastes like Starbucks? Actually, yes. I've already made this in the past, but I don't normally do it. I can't say what the actual recipe is. Maybe I can just message you about the recipe. It depends on a lot of factors. So it will depend on the milk that you're gonna use, and then the beans that you're gonna use, the profile of the beans that you're gonna use, and the sweetener that you're gonna use. So I will have to adjust depending on what Myrish has access to. Right? So I'm just gonna message her, but the simple answer is yes. Moving on. The next question is, oh, it's not a question. It's actually a message from my friend AIDS Texon. He says, mag-coffee tasting tayo sa Tanay. Shoot ka ng episode doon. So in translation, he wants me to go to his property in Tanay, Rizal. And he said, let's do a coffee tasting there. Yes, I will do that one of these days. When our schedule clears up, I will bring different kinds of coffee so that you get the contrast of each one. And then I'm gonna do a cupping there. All right? See you soon, brother. Next is from Moon Peña, Florida. She said, is there an appropriate sweetener for certain coffees? Appropriate creamer for local beans? Yung para bang sa civet coffee na bagay yung condensed milk. Okay, I don't think that there is an appropriate sweetener or appropriate creamer for certain coffees. It depends on your recipe. I think this will apply to certain coffees like Phin Coffee, which is from Vietnam. The recipe calls for a condensed milk. Also for Spanish latte, a bit of condensed milk mixed with coffee and steamed milk. For certain recipes, the milk and the sweetener is limited to that. because otherwise it will not be the Spanish latte, or otherwise it will not be Vietnamese or Finn coffee. Okay, but if you're asking the question that are you limited to certain sweeteners, or are you limited to certain creamer or milk for certain types of coffee, the simplest answer is no. Moving on to the next question. This is from Bijoy Balagtas. It's funny, most of the participants are my friends. Bijoy is actually my best friend. Okay. He says, of all the brew devices that you have, which one would you advise newbies to stay away from, and why? Before I answer his question, let's break this down first. So you have two brewing methods. One is immersion and one is percolation. Okay, so immersion is done by putting coffee grounds in water and then steeping for a certain amount of time. Percolation, on the other hand, is making water pass through coffee grounds. So those two are the different brew methods, all right? Under the immersion method, you have the cold brew, you have the French press, you have the AeroPress, and you have a lot of newer devices coming out of the market every day. And then for the percolation, you have espresso, you have pour over, and you have the big hotel percolation machines. So, have you ever seen the big cylindrical stainless thing that has a faucet under and then pours out black coffee, and then normally they would say, "Oh, it's a free flowing coffee, just get." That is a percolation machine. So the way it works is it has a basket on top, and then you have water down below, and then there is the water below heats up. So once it evaporates, it climbs up like a cloud, and then that steam, that hot steam condenses and then rains down on the coffee grounds, and that is how you make the coffee for those big percolation machines. Pour overs, on the other hand, is done by using a specific kind of kettle and a specific kind of brewer. And then espresso machine is what you see in coffee shops. Like they have this portafilter that they stuff with coffee grounds, and the water is pushed through the coffee grounds. Okay? He's asking, of all the brew devices that I have, which one would you advise newbies to stay away from, and why? The brew devices that I have right now, I have both immersion devices and percolation devices. I have an espresso machine, pour over, French press, AeroPress, even cold brew devices that you put just as simple as a jar, that can be considered as an immersion device. Of all the devices that I have, I would actually advise newbies to stay away from pour over. Number one, it's very hard to learn. Pour over may be the deepest of the rabbit holes that you can get yourself into. If you decide to go and learn pour over, it's just it's a very vast field of information that you need to learn in order to master it fully. When you start learning your pour over, you start learning about the specialty coffee, you start learning about the difference in paper, you even start learning about the quality of your water. And then the actual brewing itself. different brewers. You have the flat bottom you have flat bottom brewers, you have conical brewers, and each of those has its own perks. And you know, it's just it's simply a very vast field of learning for a newbie to get themselves into. So, but if you enjoy learning and you enjoy tweaking and adjusting things, then pour over can be a very enjoyable learning for you. Me personally, I really enjoy learning about pour over up until now. More than a year later of learning pour over, I'm still learning. I still learn new things, new concepts every day. It's fun if you like it. But if you don't, you might get frustrated. You might spend a lot of money and then get nowhere. I would say to simply answer the question, really, it's pour over. I can get into much deeper explanation why you should stay away from pour over. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this question and answer episode. If you have more questions, if you have anything to ask me, just put it down in the comment section below. I read all of your questions. I read all of your comments. I really dedicate time for it. I really enjoy hearing insights from different people, right? So for now, thank you so much for watching. In the next videos, I'm gonna show you more about coffee. Bye!